So for today's quick tip, we're going to look at hiding objects in Geogebra. Now we're going to take the previous example of trying to create a right-angled triangle. So what do we need for a right-angled triangle? What's important and what properties does it have? Well, clearly the most important thing is a right angle, so we need to think of ways to create that. Now the way that I suggested previously is if we create a square, so this is our regular polygon with 4 vertices. We used our regular polygon tool. Then we've just given ourselves 4 different right angles that we could use for our triangle. Now if I draw a regular polygon, you can see we have a right angle triangle. In fact, we have 2 here. Now if we want just to see this triangle, we're going to need to hide the square which is behind it. In order to do that, there's a few ways. We could right click and just untick this show object box. So now you can see a little bit more clearly the triangle that we were trying to indicate. The other way we could have done this, which works great if you've got lots of things to hide, is if you go into the object properties box, you see all of our objects are listed in this left hand pane. If we want to hide a point D, we simply tick this green box to turn it clear. We had our original quadrilateral, we could bring back and hide again. Now these kinds of constructions are a fantastic way to really get students to think about the properties of shapes and what makes them up. Because you can make anything in GeoGebra, you just need to find a way how. There's not going to be a drop down button, make me an isosceles triangle. So this was the other example I gave, which hopefully you've had a think about how to create an isosceles triangle just from a few tools I provided. If you haven't, pause the video now, go back to thegeekyteacher.co.uk and have a think for yourself. Otherwise, let's have a look at other objects that have been hidden. In this example, there's been a circle hidden. So to create our isosceles triangle, we thought about the properties. We knew that 2 of the sides will always have the same length. A way to do that is make 2 of the sides the radius of the same circle. And there we have a nice isosceles triangle. So let's get back our circle object, and so we can see how no matter how we manipulate these points on the circle, we're always going to have an isosceles triangle placed out. Another way that we could have done it, if I unhide, is it this line G? Was to create a base, EF, and then I just drew a perpendicular bisector using another tool which we'll cover in a later tutorial to draw a line which is 90 degrees from EF and splits it at the midpoint, which gives our properties of 2 lines the same size and also equal angles at E and at F. So that's really how you use the show and hide tools in GeoGebra to create some nice, interesting and more complex structures and shapes.